Welcome to week 9, podcast 9, the universe: a love story, evolutionary love podcasts. We want to talk this week about a politics of outrageous love reloaded, right? Part 2, right? Up level. So we have to introduce an idea here that we've actually alluded to and mentioned in passing probably since week 1. We've never fully unpacked it because it's actually critical. And that is the idea, which I'll get to in about 2 minutes. Here we go. So the universe is governed by outrageous love. The universe is not a fact, it's a story. Right? It's not an ordinary story, it's a love story. It's not an ordinary love story, it's an outrageous love story. And the thing we need to know most in the world now, the most urgent need that you described, Barbara, in 3 or 4 different podcasts, is we have an urgent need to know that the universe, right, is a love story and not an ordinary love story, an outrageous love story, meaning that outrageous love is the nature of the universe itself. When I awaken as outrageous love, I'm aligning with the nature of reality, right? So this is very different than a world described not by the science of Darwinism, not by evolutionary science, but by the church of scientism, or the dogma of neo-Darwinism, that is to say, the claim that has nothing to do with science, that the world is random, happenstance, chance, driven by brutal competition, nasty, brutish, short, dog-eat-dog world. That's the nature of reality, right? Which is what most people in the world think is the nature of reality, even religious people. Underneath, they've heard about the evolution thing, and they think underneath, like they kind of believe in the, but underneath, right, it's really this brutal competition, which is actually not the nature of reality according to the best information that we have in the world today, which we're just beginning to bring to bear. We've just barely begun. But we now know that the universe is, right, a story. It's a love story. That's the new narrative, right? We're changing the source code of the very narrative of reality itself. So here we go. I awaken as outrageous love. I'm an outrageous lover. What do outrageous lovers do? Right? I mean, do you ever wonder about that? What do outrageous lovers do? Well, they keep every boundary that should be kept. They break every boundary that should be broken. They have the wisdom to know the difference. Okay, so far so good. But that didn't really tell me anything. What do outrageous lovers do? Well, the answer is obvious. Outrageous lovers commit outrageous acts of love. That's what they do. 1 second. Which outrageous acts of love should they commit? There's so much that needs to be done. The answer, again, self-evident and obvious. Outrageous lovers commit the outrageous acts of love that are a function of their unique self.
That's it.
Because, right, unique self, get that, it's a great critical term. Unique self answers the great question of, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Are you a cog in the machine? Right? Are you a separate self, separate from everyone else, struggling to survive? Who are you? Are you kind of enlightenment? No self? You're really not there, no self, you're just an illusion? The best answer we have to the question of who are you is based on, emergent from everything we're saying in the last 9 podcasts. Who are you? You are an irreducibly unique expression of the love intelligence that initiated and animated all that is, that lives in you, as you, and through you, that never was, is, or could be other than through you. And therefore you have a unique perspective and a unique taste and a unique quality of intimacy that fosters your unique gifts, that gives you a unique ability to address the unique needs in your unique circle of intimacy and influence in a way that no one that ever was, is, or will be ever again can do but you. Wow. That's what it means to be a unique self. That's shocking. That's shocking. So that's who you are. You're a unique expression of outrageous love, which means you got something to do here, and the universe needs your service. That's the beginning. That's the first building block that we need, right, to talk about a politics of outrageous love. So here's the last sentence, and then over to Barbara. Okay? So we talked about last week, if you remember, the evolution of love. So love moves from, once love gets to the human world, it begins with quarks becoming atoms, and it goes all the way up the evolutionary chain till you get to the human world. Then love begins at egocentric and breaks out to ethnocentric and moves to world-centric and moves to cosmocentric. That happens throughout history, but also happens in an individual human being's life. I can have egocentric love, me and my family, and my close friends. Ethnocentric, me and my people. World-centric for every human being. Cosmocentric, I awaken as Barbara described so magnificently last week. I awaken as the personal face, right, of the evolutionary impulse, what we're calling unique self, with unique, outrageous acts of love to commit. That's cosmocentric. Now notice, and then to Barbara, who's going to pick this up and show us how it plays in creating a politics of outrageous love. Notice what that means is that when I awaken as outrageous love, as an outrageous lover, I'm committing the outrageous acts of love that are a function of my unique self, meaning it gets really personal and really intimate, right? The personal doesn't disappear. When I awaken as unique self, my uniqueness connects me with everything. I've got a unique gift to give that's needed by everything, and my uniqueness is my personal, intimate quality of Barbara-ness, right, that the universe needs, right, that expresses my full potency, my full creativity, my full gorgeousness, my full aliveness. So I begin to become a unique self, and I begin to participate, together with other unique selves, in the unique self symphony, which Barbara's about to describe.
Well, it's so interesting that on my own, I swam up the rivers of evolution to exactly the same point
Right.
that you got to.
I know, we got there different.
I swam up a different river and we
Right.
end up in the same tributary here.
Right,
really.
completely.
It's interesting how many other people may have swum up their own rivers and get to exactly this point. And there are a couple of things I just want to say about it. First of all, the blessing it is to be able to say yes to this impulse within you. And I want to say, if the impulse feels small to begin with, or it feels uncertain, it is small and it is uncertain to begin with, because it's sort of groping through you. And your groping is part of the universal groping. Like, I sometimes wake up almost every day saying, is this exactly what I should be doing today? Is because I'm at the frontier of my own life, and I'm not always sure, where to put my weight down. Like, is this the right thing to do?
Right.
Love podcast. Whoever thought of that?
Right.
You did.
Right.
So I'm doing it, and I'm now saying, I think it's the right thing to do. Why am I saying that?
Right.
Because it deals with an impulse inside me to bring forward more of this evolutionary communication potential, which I think is the salvation of our world.
Yeah.
And so the what was my question? What did you ask me? I got so enthusiastic.
So maybe take us into a little bit, right? A vision. This is big. Maybe give us 5 minutes on what's a vision of unique self symphony.
Oh, the unique self symphony is such a beautiful vision. First of all, take the astronauts' position when they saw planet Earth for the first time from space. And we saw that picture, and it changed everybody.
Right.
You never could get over having seen that picture. And when they were up there, they had a sense of ecstasy. They had a sense of incredible beauty and meaningfulness of the entire universe. But they didn't see any people. They didn't see any systems. They didn't see what was happening on Earth. They just saw the beautiful planet. Well, I got up there, and I actually saw the planet as a living organism, which it actually is. And their people, and their suffering, and their systems of communication, and transportation, and all, think of it as a living being, planet Earth as a living organism. And what I actually experienced as a personal, I would say, revelation of what's happening is the pain got so great. The outrageous pain became so great in this particular moment that we stopped. And when we stopped out of outrageous pain, what actually happened was empathy or outrageous love. Now, everybody has felt outrageous love from time to time. In this moment, when the pain was intense enough, the outrageous love wouldn't stop. So it went from you to you to you to you, and then people started to gather, and people started to feel empowered together. And it was one of those moments like the lunar landing, when suddenly everyone was paying attention, or the assassination of John F. Kennedy. This was the awakening of humanity moment. And suddenly they said, oh, they're gathering here, they're gathering there, they're gathering everywhere. And I was experiencing this, and I make it in the past tense. And gradually, what happened is the news media it's our nervous system, started to pick up people being healed, people being loving each other. So we got a new nervous system. And then I saw all the innovations in society, health, education, economics, being coordinated by allurement, by the same thing that got the quarks together and got the atoms together and got all of these very complex systems together, started to get us together. So it wasn't just by human organization alone. When we got to a certain degree of empathy as unique selves, the system that coordinates quarks,
Right.
atoms, molecules, and cells started to coordinate us.
Right.
And all those synchronicities that happen occasionally in your life started to happen faster and faster. And it was a moment of what you're calling a unique self-symphony.
Right.
And the conductor of the symphony is the universal process of creation.
Right.
It's the same conductor that got us from the quarks to us. So that conductor tends to create whole systems.
Right.
Out of like the 50 trillion cells, talking
Right.
to 50 trillion cells here.
Right.
So I had an experience in the past of what you now call a unique self-symphony. Another phrase I used for it was a planetary birth experience, that we collectively opened our eyes
Beautiful.
in a field of love and resonance. And it turned out there was no more fear. That was the key, because the fear of hunger, the fear of poverty, the fear of war, the fear of being hurt, somehow in the field of love disappeared even for an instant. And when collective fear disappeared, then collective love took hold, and then I saw the structure of the politics of unique self. And the politics is that everyone is giving their gift
Right.
wherever they feel they need to give it. And they're saying, this is what I want to give, this is what I need, this is what I want to offer to others. And we started to do what nature does. We became mutually attracted as a whole. And I felt a planetary awakening.
Right. Huge.
And I got a message for myself personally, which I call a vocation of destiny.
Right.
Barbara, our story is the birth of a universal co-creative humanity. Go tell the story. So I'd like to say to everybody, when you have a vision, when you have a momentary revelation, don't let it go. See what part it's calling you to do. And even if it might seem a little bit absurd to go around and say, my purpose is to tell the story of the birth of a new humanity, if you feel it in your heart to be so, and then you check out with other people and you read the stories. I read geology, biology, all of that stuff. I studied and I found it was true. And I just want to say that the unique self-symphony and the unique self-politics, I believe, is on the threshold of happening. And that this love podcast is one of its emissaries.
Yeah, absolutely.
For anybody who listens to it, we're all in this together, and the time is now. That's the truth.
The time is now, and so beautiful, and so inviting, and so alluring, and so thrilling, and so urgently necessary. And we're gonna, in our 10th podcast, we're gonna do Politics of Outrageous Love Part 3. So let's just end this with a yes, because the yes that you're talking about, Barbara, right, is the yes of the Big Bang. The very holy yes of the great flaring forth, the Big Bang, in which reality moved from no thing to something. And in 1 to the negative 43 seconds, right, the very beginning of time, before the laws of physics, there's an explosion of yes. And that yes initiates the entire process, right, of emergence, right, driven by evolutionary love. And the process itself is the evolution of love. And when love awakens as you, and you scream out yes to the unique, outrageous acts of love that are your unique gift, then evolution is awakening to itself as you. Love has evolved. You're playing the largest game that is you, I, we. We're participating together in the evolution of love in a larger, unique self-symphony that can unleash the creativity, the infinite resource that has the ability to heal, to transform, to take us the next step. That's the evolution of love.
Last point.
Last point. Go for it, love.
Whatever got single cells to create multi-cells to create
Right.
organism, whatever created those symphonies,
Right.
if you want to call those unique
Beautiful.
self-symphonies
Beautiful.
up the chain of life, the very same power that did that is doing this.
It's the symphony of mitosis and meiosis.
It's a universal process.
Yes.
And the beauty
Yes.
of our moment in history
Yes.
is we're aware of it. It happened to the quarks and the single cells. They weren't aware.
Beautiful.
So the privilege of being alive, this moment on this earth,
Yeah.
is we can be aware and participate consciously.
Right. And did everyone catch what Barbara just said? So she talked about the symphony, right, of cellular life, for example, right, which is separate cells that come together. And just look up on the internet when you get off this podcast, look up molecular biology, look up mitosis and meiosis, two cellular processes. You will see a symphony of dazzling proportions. So too we, as individual cells in a larger organism of life, are drawn together, allured to create a unique self-symphony, right, that can actually respond to outrageous pain with outrageous love.
And the thing that's encouraging about this is a 13.8 billion year trend.
Yes.
So instead of saying, oh my God, how can you expect this to happen against the tide of history?
Makes perfect.
Actually,
Yes.
We're saying this is the tide of history. This is a new norm. This is a new mainstream. This is not an alternative. This is the direction of evolution been going on for billions of years, and some of us are catching on to the direction.
Awesome. Could not be better, right? Right. Awakening as outrageous love, finishing podcast 9 in the universe, a love story, an outrageous love story, evolutionary love podcasts. See you next week.